let's discuss addition and subtraction by actually taking examples. So let's say we are given a number 5 and another number 3. So we can see that both these numbers are positive numbers. So if I actually represent both of them on a number line, so we know that this is 0 and over here somewhere is actually 3 and somewhere here would be 5. So when we add 5 and 3, so 5 is already to the right side by 5 units. So 5 is already over here to the right from 0 and 3 is to be added to it. So when we are adding a positive 3 to this 5, so what is actually happening is this, that we are actually taking this 5 3 steps ahead in the same direction. So 3 steps ahead from 5 would be 6, 7 and then 8. So this is the basic addition that we already know. So when two positive numbers are added, so if I just look at it on a number line, so then we can clearly visualize that we are actually adding two numbers which are in the same direction. So when adding them, we would be simply moving ahead in the same direction. So in this case, the direction is actually positive, which is to the right side. Now let's say one number is positive. Let's say one number is minus 3 and another number is, let's say, plus 2. So now one number is minus 3 and one number is plus 2. So when a negative and a positive number is added, so now can we actually visualize through the same number line structure that minus 3 is actually somewhere here and 2 is somewhere here. So by adding minus 3 and plus 2 from 0, we are already behind now minus 3. So if to this minus 3 we are adding plus 2, it means what? That we are taking this minus 3 ahead by 2 positions. So I'm simply taking this minus 3 forward to the right side by 2 positions. So 2 positions to this minus 3 would be minus 2 and then minus 1. So the final answer of this would be simply minus 1. So can we actually see one thing very clearly, that when we are actually adding one negative and one positive integer, in this case this is the negative integer and this is the positive integer, then actually we are simply subtracting them. This minus 3 plus 2 can be thought of as simply 3 minus 2, and we are giving it the sign of the number which is larger in magnitude. So in this case, out of 3 and 2, which is the larger in magnitude? In this case, the larger in magnitude one is actually 3, but this is a negative 3. So the answer is actually 1, but this is a negative 1. Why? Because what will happen? Let's say someone in the same zone, someone tells me to solve, let's say, minus 10 plus 7. So minus 10 plus 7 would be same as 10 minus 7, but with a minus sign. So why this minus sign actually? Because now we know that it is the same as subtracting this 10 and 7, but the sign would be of that which is actually the number which is larger in magnitude. So in this case we can see that the larger number is 10. So my final answer in this case would be minus 3. And if you can just directly assume the same structure on the number line, so then can we imagine that minus 10 is actually 10 steps to the left from 0 on this number line. So if I just represent this structure on the number line also, then can we actually clearly visualize that minus 10 would be somewhere here. So adding a 7 to it actually means that we are taking this minus 7 in this direction towards 0 to the right by 7 steps. So if I am taking this minus 10 7 steps ahead, the number which I will reach would be minus 3. But we don't have to go to this number line always. It was just for our understanding actually. But the main task is this, that we should be able to analyze this directly now. So we are given, let's say, any two numbers. One is negative, one is positive. So what we'll do, we'll simply subtract them. Let's say, in this case, I'll just take some more examples. Let's say we are given one number which is 10 and another number is minus 7. So can we see that in this case we are not confused? Why? Because 10 minus 7 is something which we have already seen. Because in this case the bigger number is positive and the smaller one is negative. So my answer would be 3. And why it is positive 3? Because the larger number is actually the positive one. Similarly, someone gives me minus 11 plus 5. So minus 11 plus 5 would be same as 11 minus 5, which is 6, but with a minus sign. So it would be minus 6. So this is the structure when we are actually combining one negative and one positive integer. In fact, adding one negative and one positive integer. So now let's say we are given two negative integers. Let's say one is -2 and one is -5. So if we are told to add -2 and -5, then what does this means? So let us actually start with this number -5. This is 0, and let's say -5 is somewhere here. So if I am told to add -2 to this -5, then actually it means that we simply have to, now we have to add -2 to it. We don't have to add a 2 to it, because if a 2 was to be added, then this number would have been taken forward in by 2 steps. So in this case, when we have to add this -2, then actually we have to simply take this number to the left now by 2 steps. So this would be what directly? It would be -5, -6 and then -7. So this would be my final term. So can we see that when both the numbers are negative, then we simply have to add them, just like the case of adding two positive numbers, but we simply have to put the minus sign before it, because ultimately the term would be -7. So if someone gives me any term, and interestingly the same logic actually is to be used for any two numbers. So we have discussed the case of integers, but this is true for any two numbers. Any two numbers, one is negative, another one is also negative. Let's say someone gives me the number, one is -11, -7. So directly what we'll do, we'll simply add this 11 plus 7 and we'll put a minus sign outside, because we know that when two negative numbers are added, then the answer would be more negative. So this becomes minus of 11 plus 7, that is -18. So this is the sense. So it is the same situation as when we were adding two positive integers. The same situation actually happens when two negative integers are added, but the answer would be just like addition, but now with a negative sign. So this is the sense. So the sense is very straightforward, but we have to actually just keep this thing in mind, because we are going to apply it like for so many times. So this is a very basic thing, and this is actually, interestingly, we have taken the example of integers, but this is true for any two numbers. If I add any two positive numbers, the answer would be simply, it is to be added. So the answer would be obviously more positive. And if we add two negative numbers, which might be in fraction or in decimal or whatsoever, but if both the numbers are negative and they are added, so the answer would be more negative. And what do we have to do? We simply have to add those two numbers and put a minus sign before it, just like this one. So just keep this basic theory in your mind, because we are going to use it for so many times. And the logic can be always sensed through the number line. But we don't have to explain it to everybody. We don't have to draw the number line as such. This is something which we know, but it's just in our mind. We know that why actually we are applying this logic, but we are not going to exhibit it every time.